don't like a lot of things in the place, but there are a few things that I have to have. Number one, my bells. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I put these on.
I see Puff reach into this case. And when he reached into this case, he came out and you could see something white in his hand. I didn't know it was a bird. I didn't know what it was at first. But he threw it up in the air. And when he threw it in the air, the came straight back down like it was a brick and said, "Pow!" on the concrete.
Erykah Badu is not as innocent as we thought, and the proof isn't in what she said, but in what she refused to say. She defended R. Kelly at the height of his scandal, claimed to see something good in Hitler.
She's defending Hitler. She actually did this in an interview with Vulture, where they somehow, for some reason, she brought up the fact that she is someone who looks for the good in everyone, even Hitler.
And stayed silent while Diddy's world collapsed around him. Add that to the private event invites, the incense made from her underwear, and the way men around her seem to fall apart, and you'll start to understand why more people are finally calling out the person behind the spiritual image.
Beautiful instrument, very low frequency, good for the lower chakra.
Once you look past the incense and cryptic Instagram quotes, what you see is someone who's been in these rooms for decades and chose to stay quiet. You know, you won't find Erykah Badu's name on any Diddy track list. No classic bad boy collabs, no award show cameos. Yet somehow, her name sits at the center of one of the darkest rumors about him, that he surrounded himself with spiritual advisors, and that she may have been the most powerful one. This theory didn't start with gossip blogs. It came from someone who was in the room. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, gave a chilling live stream in 23 where he described a woman close to Puff. She didn't speak much, but when she did, everyone stopped. She guided the energy, the tone, the vibe. She wasn't there to party. She was there to orchestrate. Gene never named her, but people connected the dots quickly because everything he described lined up with Erykah Badu's public persona. The incense, the robes, the cryptic quotes. The way men who dated her went through drastic emotional transformations. Common, Andre 3000, Jay Electronica. The way artists described meeting her as a shift in vibration. And most importantly, her absence from scandal, despite always being near the fire. Kanye West once told GQ, Erykah Badu is like the oracle of the culture. That might have sounded poetic back then, but today, in the context of Diddy's alleged rituals and manipulation, it sounds more literal than fans are comfortable with. What sealed the theory was how Erykah's name came up in spiritual circles within the industry, not as a rumor, but as a role. A high priestess, not an insult. A title, someone who brought sacred energy or covered up chaos, someone you call in to cleanse a space or silence it. And Badu's name lit up the internet right after. Because here's what made her different. She wasn't like other spiritual celebrities who sell crystals or talk chakras in interviews. She was respected, even feared, in industry circles. The type of woman who doesn't have to announce her power because everyone feels it. So when Gene Deal described that woman by Diddy's side, commanding the room like an invisible force, nobody needed a name. They already knew who he was talking about. And it wasn't just about vibes or incense anymore. It was about who was there when things went dark. You see, the public didn't need a viral photo to start speculating, but there is one. It's an old image of Erykah Badu and Sean Diddy Combs standing close at an industry event. Not a party, not a performance, just a quiet moment that now carries more weight than it did then. At the time, no one thought twice. Today, that image feels like a puzzle piece. Because what was she doing in his circle in the first place? It's no secret that Erykah Badu has always moved differently in the industry. She's not the artist you see at every award show or red carpet. When she shows up, it's with intention. which is why her proximity to Diddy raises a very specific question. Was she just a peer in his orbit, or something more? Rumors have floated for years that Erykah was seen by some as a spiritual figure in the entertainment world.
One of my favorite instruments or tools I like to use are tuning forks. This is a specially crafted, double-ended, giant tuning fork that I really love. They're delta waves on one side and beta on the other.
The word High Priestess gets thrown around, not as an insult, but as a title, a role. Some say she brings grounding, others say she brings influence. But when it comes to Diddy, the theory gets darker. Online whispers claim Erykah may have held some kind of deeper spiritual position in Diddy's private world. Not necessarily romantic, but sacred. Sacred in the way only those in elite circles understand. Sacred in a way that makes you wonder what rituals or practices she might have witnessed behind closed doors, if any. Nothing about this is confirmed. Not the priestess role, not the behind-the-scenes rituals. But for fans who've watched her spiritual persona grow over the years, it's easy to see why they'd ask. In any case, Erykah Badu didn't speak up when the lawsuits hit Diddy, but she didn't stay completely silent either. Like everything else in her public life, her response came wrapped in layers. Cryptic, indirect, and spiritual. And that's exactly what got people talking. Right after the Cassie lawsuit went public and Diddy's name was all over the headlines, Badú posted something to her Instagram story that raised eyebrows across the internet. It was a single sentence. Everything done in the dark is now under the sun. No names, no tags, no explanations. But the timing couldn't be ignored. The post dropped while media outlets were still unpacking the explosive claims Cassie made, including allegations of and spiritual manipulation. And Badú's post read less like a reaction and more like a warning. Fans and critics quickly jumped in. Some said it was her way of addressing the moment without calling anyone out directly. Others thought she was distancing herself, subtly signaling that she saw this coming. But to many, it felt like she was sending a coded message, not to the public, but to insiders. And that wasn't the only time she did it. Over the course of that same week, she posted other vague, spiritual comments. Phrases like karma always finds its way and cleansing must come before alignment. Again, nothing illegal, nothing explicit, but everything pointed to the idea that she knew more than she was saying, and that she was choosing to speak through symbolism rather than transparency. That's always been her style. But in this context, it didn't sit right with everyone. Because if Badú really was connected to Diddy's private circle, if she had even witnessed some of what's now being described in lawsuits, then these posts weren't just philosophical musings. They were deliberate. Her silence, paired with these carefully worded messages, sent a mixed signal. Was she trying to hint that she disapproved of Diddy's actions? Or was she trying to protect her image while staying loyal to the people she knew? Now, if you've followed Diddy's controversies closely, then you've probably heard the name Gene Deal, one of Diddy's former bodyguards, someone who's seen things most people wouldn't believe. And what he described in one of his most chilling interviews shook even the skeptics. Gene said that right before the 1999 club shooting trial, the one where rapper Shine took the fall, he and Diddy stopped in Central Park. Diddy didn't say much, he just told Gene to wait. And that's when he walked up to a man dressed in all black.
I look in the distance and it's this man in all black. He's in all black. And he turns and it looked like he had the white collar and he kept on walking. So when Puff gets directly to the dude, he gets down on his knees. When he gets down on his knees, this man takes something and it seemed like it had smoke in it and he started doing it around Puff.
The man performed a kind of ritual. Smoke, motions, silence. And then Diddy reached into a case and pulled out a white bird, a dove. He threw it into the air and it fell straight to the pavement, dead. Deal said the bird hit the concrete like a brick.
I see Puff reach into this case And when he reached into this case, he came out and you could see something white in his hand. I didn't know it was a bird. I didn't know what it was at first, but he threw it up in the air. And when he threw it in the air, the came straight back down like it was a brick and said, "Bow" on the concrete.
To him, it wasn't just bizarre, it was spiritual, or maybe even sacrificial. Diddy didn't say a word afterward. He just walked back to the car and headed to court. Hours later, Shine was sentenced. And Diddy? He walked free. That story has haunted fans for years. Not because it proves guilt, but because it shows intention, energy, belief in something beyond the courtroom, something that looked, smelled, and felt like a ritual. Now, Erykah Badu's name never came up in that story. She wasn't there. Her connection isn't direct. But when the public started unpacking who might have known about these alleged rituals, her name kept surfacing, not as a witness, not even as a participant, but as someone who's long been associated with mysticism, spiritual practice, and otherworldly influence. And that's the thing. Once ritual talk enters the equation, the line between fact and belief gets blurry. For someone like Erykah, who embraces the spiritual in public and in private, people don't need hard proof. All they need is a vibe. And when the vibe matches the story, fair or not, assumptions follow. In any case, that wasn't the first time Gene Deal said he witnessed Diddy's strange rituals. According to Deal, after Kim Porter's death, Diddy hosted a 3-day ceremony that wasn't just about grief, it was about power. He claimed it took place around Kim's birthday and aligned with the winter solstice. It wasn't just a party. Deal said it was a moon ritual, pagan energy, idols being honored. And on the final night, a disturbing act, men allegedly engaging in ritualistic as part of the offering.
Him and Kim Porter's birthday was on the same day. And people was thinking that because of Puff gave his birthday party on her birthday. But it was bigger than that, and people don't understand that.
To the public, it looked like a memorial, a tribute to Kim's life after her sudden and tragic death in 2018. But to Deal, and to those who believe him, it was something darker, a ritual, an offering. And what made it even more unsettling was the timing. Just weeks before that celebration, Kim Porter was found dead at home. The official cause? Pneumonia. She was only 47. That story, on its own, would be enough to stir conspiracy. But when you add Erykah Badu into the picture, people start making connections, whether fair or not. Because before anyone linked her name to Diddy's alleged rituals, people were already whispering about her. Not in a negative way, but in that there's something different about her kind of way. Her music didn't just sound spiritual, it felt like a spell. Her interviews? Always cryptic. Her presence? Unmistakable. And whether she wanted the label or not, people started calling her a witch, a healer, a force. Whatever you called it, the point was clear. Erykah Badu wasn't just another neo-soul artist. She was something else entirely. Over time, stories began piling up. Glasses Malone once admitted he was hypnotized by her beauty, ready to make a move at an awards show, until Birdman stopped him. Not out of jealousy, but out of caution. Birdman told him flat out, "She's a witch." And Glasses didn't laugh it off. He backed down.
So I start to get up, that grabbed my shoulder. He's like, "Hey man, don't do that." I'm like, "Why not? You don't think I can have her?" Sound crazy, I could get her. I got up, he's like, nah, he grabbed me again. He's like, "Man, she like a witch or something, man."
Then there were the rappers who joked, but not really, about how Erykah changed them. 50 Cent once said,
"The person iller than her is Erykah Badu."
She have dudes wearing crocheted hats.
They come back different. I don't even want that kind of but keep that.
Cameron joked that after men dated her, they'd start wearing turbans and dressing like monks. Common. Andre, 3000. J. Electronica. The pattern was hard to ignore, and Erykah leaned into it. She created incense that smelled like her essence. It sold out instantly. She built a studio called Badú, a spiritual music space filled with haunted pianos, saunas, tuning forks, and frequency-altering sound beds. She even wore a tuning fork grill in her mouth. It controls the environment, she said. She's spoken openly about the idea that her presence changes people. In a 2020 Tamron Hall interview, she said,
My magic doesn't lie between my thighs, it lies between my ear.
The crowd roared. But that statement said more than people realized. Erykah wasn't playing coy, she was owning it. Her influence, her energy, her power. So when fans heard about dark rituals surrounding Diddy, it wasn't a leap for some to bring up her name. Not because they had evidence, but because Erykah's always been linked to the unseen, the mystical, the vibe. And in a world where image is everything and silence says more than words, Erykah didn't need to say much. The myth was already alive. When the rumors started pointing toward Erykah Badu, not everyone agreed. Some felt she was being dragged into a narrative she never asked for. After all, she never claimed Diddy did rituals. She didn't leak footage. She didn't make accusations. All she did was leave a comment. But in 2024, that's all it takes to start a storm. Jaguar Wright, another figure known for calling out industry secrets, has been one of Erykah's loudest critics. She claimed Erykah once kept placentas from births she helped deliver, allegedly including Summer Walker's.
Oh, she kept the placenta?
That's what she does.
She even accused her of performing chants around graves. Wright didn't stop there. She hinted Erykah was responsible for Daniel Jones's death, calling it a sacrifice. No charges, no proof. But the accusations stuck in people's minds, just like everything else in this case. And then there's Andre 3000. He hasn't spoken publicly about Diddy, but people haven't forgotten how his career seemed to shift after his split from Erykah. His battle with social anxiety, his spiritual searching, his silence. Some wonder if his transformation wasn't just emotional, but mystical. If he had tapped into something through her and backed away. Erykah Badu has always been seen as someone different, creative, mysterious, spiritual. But now that questions are being asked about her ties to Diddy and other powerful men in the music industry, people are starting to look back at moments from her past with a new lens. Moments that many fans once ignored, laughed off, or accepted as part of her eccentric personality are now raising real concerns. Not because they prove she did anything illegal, but because they show a pattern of behavior that's hard to ignore. Let's start with what happened in 2019. At the time, the surviving R. Kelly documentary had just aired, and the music world was being forced to confront years of abuse allegations against the singer. Most artists were distancing themselves. Some were apologizing for working with him, but Badú took a different approach. During a concert in Chicago, R. Kelly's hometown, she paused her show and said, "I hope he sees the light of day and becomes a better person." The crowd booed immediately. They didn't want to hear it, and many felt like she was defending him in a moment when the focus should have been on his victims. After the backlash, Badú posted on Instagram claiming that her comment came from a place of love, that she was praying for everyone involved, including the survivors. But her explanation didn't sit well with a lot of people. It felt like she was hiding behind spiritual language instead of taking a clear stand. And that moment started a shift. People began to notice that Badú often stayed quiet or spoke in vague riddles when serious things were happening in the industry around her. That wasn't the first time her words sparked controversy. In a 2018 interview with Vulture, Badú made one of the most shocking statements of her career. She said, "I see good in everybody. I saw something good in Hitler." It was supposed to be part of a larger point about compassion and seeing beyond people's actions, but it completely missed the mark. The backlash was massive. Victims' rights groups, educators, and her own fans were outraged. even after she tried to clarify that her words were taken out of context. The quote stuck. It was hard to believe that someone known for being thoughtful and intentional would say something so reckless. The same interview included another red flag. Badú made comments about how schoolgirls dress, suggesting they might be responsible for attracting adult attention. That kind of victim-blaming rhetoric isn't just harmful, it's dangerous. And for someone who's seen as a cultural icon for Black women, the backlash made sense. Her comments didn't align with the image she had built for herself as a nurturing, supportive figure. 2 years later, Badú found herself in the headlines again. This time, it wasn't for something she said. It was for something she sold. In 2020, she released a product line called Badu's Pee, which included incense and perfume made from what she claimed were ashes of her worn underwear.
It's sold out. As soon as we put it up every time, give it away like that, you know what I'm saying? That's how you sell pussy.
The product sold out in less than 20 minutes, and some fans praised it as a bold, empowering move. But others saw it differently. They accused her of using shock value to sell products and of turning spiritual ideas into marketing gimmicks. She claimed it was all about honoring feminine energy and ritual. But again, her explanation didn't land with everyone. It started to look like a pattern, where Badú cloaked controversial choices in mystical or sacred language, knowing that people would give her a pass because of her reputation. In any case, none of these moments individually prove anything sinister. But when you look at them together, her defense of R. Kelly, the Hitler comments, the incense stunt, her effect on partners, and now her alleged presence at Diddy's private events, it becomes harder to keep chalking it up to eccentricity. Especially when you add in the fact that she's remained completely silent about the major abuse allegations now rocking the industry. Badú hasn't said anything about the Cassie lawsuit. She hasn't addressed the accusations against Diddy. She didn't speak up during the height of the Me Too movement in music. And for someone so respected, so tied to powerful men, and so admired for her supposed insight, that silence means something. Her fans used to see it as mystery, as wisdom. But now, a growing number of people are starting to see it as a calculated move to stay out of the line of fire, to protect her brand, to avoid picking sides, even when it mattered most. What's more concerning is that her spiritual image is often used as a shield. The long dresses, the incense, the Instagram quotes, they've worked to create a persona that feels untouchable. But behind that persona is someone who's made harmful comments, defended the wrong people, and avoided accountability when it counted. Badú's legacy isn't ruined, but it's being re-examined. And as more names come out, more connections are made, and more victims speak, her silence and past choices are finally being looked at for what they are. Not harmless quirks, but decisions with real weight. The kind of decisions that, when stacked together, tell a very different story than the one fans were sold. Erykah Badu built her brand on energy, spirituality, and mystery. For years, that image kept her above the mess of the industry. While others were caught in lawsuits, scandals, or public backlash, she moved quietly, always respected, rarely questioned. But now, people are looking at that silence differently. Not as wisdom, but as strategy. Not as peace, but protection. She's never been accused of a crime. No one's placing her at the center of the allegations. But her name keeps coming up, linked to powerful men, tied to private events, and mentioned by insiders who describe a woman who guided the room without saying much. And when serious things happen, when people get hurt, when survivors speak up, when secrets come out, what someone chooses not to say matters just as much as what they do. Erykah Badu may not be guilty of anything, but at this point, it's fair to ask the hard questions about who she stood next to, about what she saw, about why she stayed quiet. Because once you put all the pieces together, her comments, her products, her influence, her silence, it's not about whether she's innocent. It's about whether she ever really wanted to be held accountable at all. That's it for the video, folks. Bye.